everyone, my name is Miss Kavita and I'm from the Lilburn branch of the Gwinnett County Public Library. Welcome to the 5th episode of our Culture Craft series. June is LGBTQ plus Pride Month. This month-long celebration demonstrates how LGBTQ plus Americans have strengthened our country by using their talent and creativity to create awareness and goodwill. June 2021 marks the 51st anniversary of the LGBTQ plus Pride traditions. The first Pride March in New York City was held on June 28, 1970, on the one-year anniversary of the Stonewall Uprising. On a hot summer night in 1969, police raided the Stonewall Inn, a bar located in New York City's Greenwich Village that served as a haven for the city's LGBTQ plus community. Police raids were common, but on that particular night, the members of the LGBTQ plus community decided to fight back, sparking an uprising that would launch a new era of resistance and revolution. Love and acceptance are learned at an early age, and it's important for families to demonstrate these values to little ones from the beginning. Oftentimes, omitting LGBTQ plus topics and issues from conversations can allow feelings of shame and negative behaviors to take root, which are harmful not only to children, but to the LGBTQ plus community as a whole. The first step in introducing children to LGBTQ plus topics is separating them from the birds and bees conversation. Even though gender identity can be somewhat associated with anatomy, it doesn't mean every LGBTQ plus issue is about body parts. It is a part of it, but the LGBTQ plus talk is about understanding and acceptance. And to do just that, we have for you today a very, very special program with famous children's author Shelley Anand and illustrator Nabi Ali. Shelley's book, Laxmi's Mooch, is all about love, acceptance, and understanding. So let's meet Shelley and Nabi. Are you ready?
Thank you so much. We're so excited to be here. We're excited to talk about our book, Laxmi's Mooch. We can start with a reading, and then Nabi and I can talk a little bit about the process of creating the book and all of that. And then I know Nabi is going to share some of his amazing artistic skills with us on how he brought Laxmi to life, which was a lot of fun for me when I found out Nabi was going to be the illustrator, and I got to see different options of Laxmi. It was a really fun process. So I'm excited that he'll get to share that with y'all. Okay, so I'm going to screen share and I'll go here. Can you guys see this?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm reading from the PDF because I'm not good at reading and flipping on camera. So this way it's a little easier. But this is the book, Laxmi's Mooch, and you can get it from your library. Check it out. The fun part I really love this. These are the cover papers because there's a lot of Hindi or Urdu in the book. And so there's some translations here so that you can go back and learn what the words mean. Okay. So I'm going to start reading. Hi, I'm Laxmi. Come here, closer. You see that? That's my mooch. What's a mooch, you ask? These little hairs above my lip. It's okay, you can look. I never really thought about my mooch until the other day when my friends and I were playing farm animals at recess. Zoe was a horse, Noah was a cow, and Zoe said, Laxmi, you're a cat, okay? I want to be a chicken, I said, but you're the perfect cat. You have these little hairs on your lip like cat whiskers, said Zoe. I do, I asked. Meow, said Noah. Yeah, you have a little mustache like my dad. My cheeks grew as hot as a steaming bowl of Mummy's aloo gobi. I went to the bathroom after recess and looked in the mirror. Zoe was right. I did look like a cat with small black whiskers. Meow. I sat at my desk with my hand over my mouth, so no one could see my mooch. Everywhere I walked, I thought I heard kids whisper, meow. The whole day, I kept noticing hair all over my body, on my arms, and legs and knuckles, even in the space between my eyebrows. When I got home that afternoon, Mummy asked, "How was school, beta?" "Well, Zoe said I'd make a good cat," I said. "Aw, you're my little Billy," she said. "No, Mummy, she was calling me Harry." "Huh, I thought we named you Laxmi," said Papa, looking up from the roti he was making on the stove. "No, look, I'm hairy. I have hair all over my body. I have a mustache." "Huh, I also have a mooch," said Mummy. "But Mummy, I thought mooches were just for boys like Papa." "Nahi, we come from a long line of women with mooche," said Mummy. "We do? Like who?" From Mughal empresses and stately Ranis to village girls and city girls, even your Nani and cousin Radha. Everyone has a mooch, really. But I also have hair on my arms and legs. I have hair all over. Mummy shrugged. "To kya? So what? Hair is just for your head." Mummy smiled. "Nay, beta, we have hair everywhere." "But why?" "It protects you and keeps you warm. Just feel it. So nice and soft," she said. "But look at this hair between my eyebrows." "Yes, it's lovely, just like Frida Kahlo," said Papa. "Who?" I asked. "Frida Kahlo. She was a famous artist from Mexico." "Oh, I think it kind of looks like a caterpillar," I said. "Caterpillars are the coolest, beta. They build cocoons and become butterflies," said Papa. "First I'm a billy and now I'm a butterfly?" I asked. That night, I dreamed about Royal Bengal tigers prowling through the Sundarbans. Their long black whiskers danced in the hot breeze, and butterflies flew behind them, fluttering around their long tails. The next day at recess, Zoe wanted to play farm animals again. "Let's play jungle animals instead. I'm a tiger with my long, silky mooch," I said. "A long, silky what?" said Zoe. "Mooch, it's Hindi for mustache." "Well, what should I be?" asked Zoe. I walked up to Zoe and got really close. I saw tiny blonde hairs on her lip. Sure enough, she had a mooch too. "You should be a lion with your shiny blonde whiskers," I whispered. "I don't have whiskers," Zoe said. "Do too," I said. We both ran to the bathroom and looked in the mirror. "I don't see anything," Zoe said. "Move in closer," I told her. She leaned in so close that her nose left a little smudge on the glass. "Oh," she said. And then slowly she smiled. When we came out of the bathroom, Noah was waiting for us. "Hey, what about me? Do I have a mooch?" he asked. Zoe and I both looked, but we didn't see a single hair above his lip. "Nope," said Zoe. "Yeah, I don't see anything, Noah, but maybe we can draw one on for you until your real one comes in," I said. "Okay," agreed Noah. A small group of the other kids in our class crowded around as I carefully drew a mooch on Noah's lip. "Me next," said Savvy. "Me too, please," after Savvy asked Timmy. They lined up behind Noah for my world-class mooches. "I don't need one. I already have some hair there," Lucha smiled proudly. "So do I," cheered Arzu. Pretty soon, everyone was showing off their mooches, real and drawn. "So, will you show me yours?" That's the end.
That was fantastic. That is the cutest little story I've heard. And I love the
Thank
way
you.
how everybody just loves their friends and they accept, who she is for what she is. And that's pretty much the gist of our program for today is love and acceptance.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I grew up in Georgia. I was born and raised here. My parents are immigrants from India. And, when I was growing up, it was hard because there wasn't a large, Desi community at my school. And I was hairy. And so, when I was like in 5th or 6th grade, I used to get teased for having hairy arms. I would get teased for having a mustache. some boys would tease me and say that I had, man arms, and they would make me feel bad. And I started, this hair removal journey that, lasted up until the pandemic started, basically, when I couldn't go get my mooch waxed or threaded. And the idea for the book really came to me when I was on maternity leave with my daughter. And, a friend of mine had a 6-year-old at the time who got teased at school for having a mooch, and she's also South Asian. And my friend Sonia called me and was like, what am I going to do? Like, this is so young. I'm not going to take a 6-year-old, to a salon. And I looked down at my daughter, and she had, she's hairy, like me and my family. And I was just like, you know what, like, we have to make it different for them, just as we're trying to, get kids and even as adults go through this process of unlearning harms that we grew up with, whether that's, feeling feeling a certain way about our body weight, feeling a certain way about the way we look, that we don't look like Bollywood stars or supermodels here. Like, we just grew up with a lot of, in Hindi we say bakwas, like nonsense about what we should look like and be like as people. And it's very, very harmful, right? And so I wanted to create a story where hair removal wasn't the answer. I wanted to create a story where children can inquisitively and playfully ask questions without being mean, without teasing, without bullying. There's a way to ask your friends about their differences, right? Like, we have friends that are Sikh. And so if a little boy has long hair, be like, oh, your hair is so long. Like, and they might tell you it's because I'm Sikh, or whatever. If a girl's wearing hijab, you can ask her, oh, I love your head covering. And she can tell you why she wears it. There is a nice, authentic, curious way to get to know people and their differences without being mean. And so those are kind of the lessons I'm trying to teach to my children and teach to the community of children that, I'm a part of as their auntie. And so this book is kind of part of that journey.
That's amazing. And it conveys exactly that. And I'm so glad. So that was your inspiration. How about how did you meet Nabi for the illustrations? How did that come about?
Well, so this is my first book. Nabi, you had a couple books come out before
Yeah,
Laxmi.
I had like about 2 come out before Lakshmi, and I was working on another one simultaneously while working on
Yes.
Lakshmi. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been an admirer of Nabi's work even before we met through Kokila. But one of the things I learned about picture book publishing is typically, a writer comes to a publisher with a manuscript and they prefer to, match your manuscript with an illustrator who's been submitting their work for potential publication partnership with an author. So I had originally seen Nabi's work the year I started writing the manuscript, which is in 2017. And I had been involved in some activism here in Decatur, Georgia, getting a Confederate monument removed. This was right after a white supremacist KKK rally that happened in Charlottesville, Virginia. And there was a vigil, and we were at this vigil and we saw this Confederate monument, and we were like, this is just so inappropriate and doesn't belong in our community. And while I was doing this activism, I found a piece by Nabi where he had taken Durga, who's, the goddess of strength, Shakti, and she's on a tiger and she's usually, slaying a demon. But instead of a demon, it was a Klansman. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is my identity. Like, it was, I want it tattooed on my body. But it was just so awesome. And then when when we signed with Kokila, Nabi was on the list of illustrators that they were interested in partnering, having, illustrate Laxmi. And I was like, oh my God, I love Nabi. His artwork's amazing. so that was really cool. But Nabi, I think we didn't start really interacting other than me fangirling him on Instagram. Like, oh my God, I love you. Until like you started doing the drawings, because Kokila and I agreed, like wanted Nabi is the artist to have free reign and just like visualize the manuscript and put it into art form. So I think he can talk about what that process was like.
Mhm. I don't when I saw the manuscript, I was just like, wow, this is like it was like perfect because I had always wanted to work on South Asian stuff, but I didn't get the opportunity to until I signed on to Lakshmi's Mooch, and I was like, wow. So it was just like, especially like the spreads with the Mughal princesses and then like the Ranis and or like the Mughal empresses and the Ranis and everything. I was like, wow, this is exactly my aesthetic. I was especially excited about that spread, and then the one with the tigers and the Sundarbans. Um, and then so like I just had like a very fun time. It didn't even seem like work for me. And when I designed Lakshmi, I wanted her. I don't know. I gave a few designs. One of them looked kind of like my sister. She was very like skinny with like long hair, like super like tall. And then I drew one that was like that looks like Lakshmi how she is now. And then everyone really loved that one. I was really glad because I grew up on the heavier side, and then so like it was really nice for people to be like, oh, she's so cute, she's so chubby, and it's like, oh, and I think that's another thing I really like about Lakshmi, and just like Lakshmi's world in general. Like I tried to put as much diversity into like all the characters. What the teacher is based off of one of my hijabi friends who worked with kids at one point. So I was like, okay, just dropping in a few friends that I know into the books that I draw, that I work on. And I can show you actually how I draw Lakshmi. I'll just draw her face, but
Yes.
maybe I can also color her a little bit. So this is Lakshmi. I'm gonna use this as a reference just because I haven't drawn her in a while. And I like to work mainly digitally. Sometimes I'll sketch out traditionally if it doesn't, like if I'm feeling a little rough. I'll sketch things out traditionally on paper, and then I will try to like scan them or just reference them and try to redraw them onto a digital screen. But mostly I work for professional stuff. I do digital, and then as a hobby, um, I do some traditional stuff, usually like mixed media things. So that's not like, I don't know, like I haven't experimented with that and putting it into the world of children's illustration, but one day I will try that out. So for her, I wanted her head to be like a very simple, like circular shape. She's got little ears. For a lot of my like kid characters, I base them off of how some anime figures like Nendoroids look like when they're like chibi. I think that's very cute. It's kind of nerdy, but whatever. And then so let's give her a neck, and I wanted her hair to part down the middle because that's how I wore my hair growing up, and give her like little braids. She's got like she's got two little barrettes.
So what is the
And
software you're using, Nabi?
I'm using Procreate, so it's a digital tool on iPad, and it works very similar to how you draw on paper,
right.
and it's not super advanced or technical like Photoshop is. I used to use Photoshop, but I think this is way more suited for just drawing and painting. Yeah. And a little smile. I'm gonna put it right directly underneath me, so you're gonna see a menacing, a menacing lighting from the bottom. So I wanted to give her a curved nose, because I know that's like another thing that sometimes brown kids get bullied for. So I was like,
Yes.
yeah, it's like be proud of your noses.
Oh my God, I've had such a journey with my nose. It's
Oh,
a joke.
it's interesting because in the South, actually, we get made fun of for having flatter noses. So it's interesting when like, you start moving more up north and then, people have like more prominent noses
As a
and
more
then,
prominent
yeah,
thing. And
yeah.
people, I mean, it's very, yeah, it's very interesting. And like people, like this is like literally my great grandmother's nose. And she was, you know, from Punjab in present day Pakistan. And, it's like, I call my nose like, this is like the Silk Road nose. Like this is,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I really loved all the versions of Lakshmi, but I really loved this iteration because, I do think there's a lot of like body shaming in American and in South Asian culture around
Mhm.
weight. And that's also something that I'm really, wanting to celebrate, people like teaching children to celebrate their bodies and loving their bodies. And um, I think, you know, she's how could you say anything about Lakshmi? She's just so
She's
cute.
so
And
cute, yeah.
Like, we're all the same, but we're different, and that's what we need to teach kids to celebrate. That's true.
yeah, exactly.
I really like how Shelley made it so that the kids they're not like mean, or like evil. They're just curious and they're not sure how to approach each other's differences yet. And
Mhm.
they learn throughout the book. So that I really appreciated that because I feel like people have a tendency to, like, for example, to put like this is the antagonist of the book and this is the good person, and it's like life doesn't really work that way. So I really appreciated that, especially with kids. I think it's important to realize that children are just parroting what adults say around them, and not really like they don't really go out and be like, I'm going to be horrible in this way. Like they're not inherently like born with that. So I really appreciated that.
That's true, and they learn more from things they just see happening around them. You don't really need to teach them. They're going to learn by imitating behavior that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's important. I mean, I'll be honest, like when I was first writing this, because like I had my own version of Zoe in my life and she wasn't as friendly about it.
No, yeah.
And so I think that is very real and cathartic, but like to like that I wrote that out. But yeah, I mean, I didn't want this just to be for, you know, brown girls getting revenge or whatever. Like I wanted it to be for all kids, and like, white kids learning that like their friends are brown and hairy, and that there's a friendly way, a curious way to inquire and ask questions and process, and also to be self-observant about yourself. Like I grew up with so many girls that were also very hairy, but they had blonde hair. And
Mhm.
so they weren't put through this process of waxing and, you know, threading and all of that, because they had just very lighter hair. And so I think that having kids recognize what other kids are put through based on their skin color, based on their hair color here, and just having that recognition, I think, is really important.
Oh, here she is. This is amazing, Nabi. It's like it's magic.
Thank you. One of the things I sort of struggled with is making her much so that it doesn't interfere with like the curve of her smile. Um, like you can draw it, you know, in a realistic way, but you have to make it like, what is it? Go with the design. So I was like trying to figure out when I was first drawing her how to trying to figure out how to like make it align with the shape of her mouth. I know a lot of people just use the color fill tool, but I have no idea why I go the long route and just literally shade it in. I think just because it feels like I'm drawing on a canvas or on paper.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll draw her braids out too. For that I do this I just take one big brush and then I draw in the little like the little circles.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay. So they're just circles put together.
Yeah. I think it's very cute. Like I'll see some folk paintings from South Asia and then like the braids are drawn like it's just one big brush and then you know, they just make dots with it. And I'm like, oh, that's so cute. So that's some of the inspiration. And I do this thing where I don't shade black hair for some reason or like dark eyes. I don't know why, it's just a stylistic thing for me. And sometimes the authors I work with, they'll have like a or like the art directors I work with, they'll have like a preference for me to like shade in the hair or shade in the eyes. And then so in that case I'll do that. But usually I don't add any like shadows to dark hair. And it's just a personal preference. I think also just because like in like the mobile paintings and stuff, you'll just see like the hair drawn with like a like dot like very pitch black paint.
That was definitely my favorite drawing. Like one of the first kind of stanzas or whatever that came to me when I was trying to think about a story for a little South Asian girl was like referring back to women in history and like what the depiction of South Asian women looked like before the onset of like colonial and Western influence really took over. And um, it was just so, and so that stands out about from Mughal empresses to stately Ranis to city girls and village girls. That was one of the first things that came to me. And when I saw Nabi's illustration of it, it was just like, oh my God, like that was exactly, I mean, I couldn't even imagine anything more beautiful than that, how he did
Oh,
that. Um,
thank you.
no, it was just so beautifully done. And um, just really showcasing like, yeah, our history and our beauty, even, you know, since antiquity, and that we've always been hairy and we have darker skin, and we should celebrate that.
Yeah.
So cool.
Magical. I can she's literally come to life on this paper.
So that is her.
Oh,
Fantastic.
Her little flower shirt.
so cute.
But yeah, that's it.
That was
That's how you draw Lakshmi. I'm sorry I didn't explain it. I was just like, ooh, and then I just went right in.
No, it was
I'm gonna try
awesome.
this later on, maybe with like traditional pencil and that, but I'm definitely gonna try it.
Yeah, no, you should. And like show me once you're well if you
I
do
will.
it.
I
Yeah.
will promise not to share it. No. But this was fantastic. Shelley, I remember you saying that the first manuscript was back in 2017. So how long? I mean, I know our viewers probably are wanting to know how long does it actually typically take to write a children's book? They just seem so simple and
Yeah, it takes a lot of work actually. You know, children's literature is literature. And I think even um, since, I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and, picture books were very different then. But picture books are very much like an avenue for, storytelling and getting children to think about different topics, and definitely in the movement for what's called own voices, where writers are writing from their own experiences. So like South Asian writers are writing about South Asian experiences, Black writers are writing about Black experiences. That's like a very important vehicle for children to see themselves represented. And yeah, it's an art form for sure that, I've always loved writing. I've always had a journal. I'm a lawyer. And so I do a lot of legal writing, but it's very different than picture book writing. And so, yeah, in 2017, the idea for this story came to me, and I kind of wrote it out, and it was very like old school, how we grew up, like, hi, I'm Laxmi, look at my backpack, it's blue, and I'm walking to school, and blah, blah, blah. And so I had this concept. And a good friend of mine, Sabba Sulaiman, who I went to college with, is a literary agent and she does, kidlit, work. And so I sent it to her, and, she's a good friend, and she's very generous with her time when it comes to her friends and all of that. So she was like, I love the concept. It needs work. I'm not going to lie to you. I want you to, if you really want to do this, you need to like study picture books, don't read anything pre-2015, just like read what picture books look like now. Joshua Funk, who's written a lot of really great picture books that my kids enjoy. I'm trying to remember the story. There's one story he has about this pancake and this, I think there's a pancake and French toast fighting over the last drip of syrup. So he has a website, Joshua Funk, and it's like how to write a picture book. And like the magic number these days is like 500 words. He kind of gives you like some things to think about. And so I started just reading a bunch of picture books. I joined the SCWBI, which is a collective for children's book authors and illustrators. I joined a writers group. My friend Sonia, that her and her daughter who inspired the story, her and I had a lot of back and forth. So I would say like, I was on maternity leave. And so when my daughter was napping or nursing, I would just start writing and going through it. And so I would say like, it took 6-7 months of like active working on it, writing on it. And so I sent it to Sabba again after 6-7 months, and she gave me some feedback, and another 2-3 months went by. Maybe it had gotten close to a year at that point. And she's like, I'll take you on as a client, which I didn't expect because, she doesn't just take on clients. So I worked really hard to get there. And then even after that, I got a professional critique done, kept going. It went out. So then when she thought it was ready to go, it goes out on submission. Submission can take a really long time, right? And that means you're sending the manuscript out to publishers. And luckily, Namrita from Kokila saw the manuscript, I think a year and a half after I started the project. She liked it a lot, had some ideas, and then maybe by year 2, we had executed a contract. I continued to edit it, and like have back and forth about all sorts of things, like even that line about the butterfly. We had, there's this assistant editor at Kokila named Sydney Monday, and she was originally, it was like butterfly, caterpillars become butterflies and they're beautiful. But Sydney was like, well, what are you saying, that it's not good to be a caterpillar? Like that she is gonna become beautiful later on. And so we wanted to like make sure the messaging was right. And so we changed it, and we were like, they're really cool because they are like, they evolve, and you're going to evolve, and who knows what you're going to become, like just like really working on the language. And similarly, Jasmine, the art director, Jasmine Vargas, worked with Nabi and came up with the idea of like the gender neutral restroom, which I loved. I was like, this is so cool. So in total, like it took 4 years from the date that I started writing the book to the date it got published. And that is also like a short amount of time, even for that, because there are people, and picture books are very different than other forms of literature. But it can take years. You know, I was very blessed that I got an agent and she's very skilled in this whole process. I'm so new to this. But you know, I wrote a second children's book with a friend of mine, and the process was quicker because I had learned the art form. I had been studying it some more. And so it took less time, and we sold it to Simon and Schuster. It's coming out next year. But I'm working on another manuscript right now, and it just takes time. What do you have time for? I have another full-time job. I have 2 kids. I have a husband. I have my parents. So, this isn't my full-time career. And I wonder if I could dedicate more time to it, if it would go faster. So I would just say keep writing, join SCWI. They have advice on how to pitch to agents, and there's just a lot of resources out there. But I think the first thing is just like writing down your ideas, writing your stories, and sharing them with people that you care about. If you're interested in picture books, going to if you're friends with a librarian or you're friends with other parents, like having people that read picture books a lot give you feedback. Because I just asked my friends who are parents, like, what do you think? Because they're the readers, they're the ones that are going to be reading these books. And it's also like a lot of fun, like it's art, it's an art form. And I know that we live in this system of I got to create and produce, but like I try to remind myself of the artistic process. And even though something hasn't sold or no one's caught on to it, like just remember to enjoy the process of making it, because you don't want that to get lost. And I'm reminding myself of that as I work on future works.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, your journey and inspiration is fantastic. Nabi, how long have you been illustrating? It's like children's books or just other illustrations that you do?
So I started working in art, I would say like 4 years ago, but I would just do small, like little freelance projects. I worked for an indie game for a while to do backgrounds. And then afterwards, I would just do small commissions. I worked briefly with a Disney client for like character concepts and stuff like that. So I was very like geared towards the animation and like game industry. So after I left school, I thought, picture books would just be, like this is going to be my, like part-time job. And as I'm looking for work in animation, and then it turned out to just be like my full-time career, and I like really learned to appreciate it. I think in like the art world, and just especially like when you go to art school, there's like this expectation that animation and games is like the real deal, or it's like it's more hardcore or something. And then so I had to learn as Shelley did, that children's literature, it's also its own art form. It has its own like complexities. You can't just be like, oh, like I'm gonna make a picture book and then it like just pops out of your head. So that was one thing. It was a bit of a learning curve at first. So I was really able, I think, to fully appreciate it during Laxmi's Mooch, because this is like a subject that I really liked. So I was like, okay, I can't just treat this as, oh, like I'm gonna do this and then one day I'll have like a different job or something. Like it's I gotta like enjoy this process and like really devote myself to it. Like I have to focus on the now and not be like, oh, like head in the clouds all the time. So I think working on this really, like, it taught me how to ground myself in that. And now I'm like, okay, like I'm just gonna be making picture books and comics like forever. So yeah, and I've been working for like I think the past two years. I'm on like year 3 now, I think.
Yeah, that's like you said, the most important thing is, if you enjoy what you do, you're going to be really good at it. So just enjoy, like you're sketching, you're drawing, illustrating, writing, like Shelley did. I mean, I think this has been truly, truly fantastic. I am so glad you both could do this program for us at the Gwinnett County Public Library, and I'm sure our viewers may have questions. I'm going to try and add in a link at the end where they could come to us with questions if they have anything for you guys. I think everybody's going to appreciate this program. Thank you so very much for joining
Thank you
us.
for having us.
Thank you.
You have been fantastic. Thank you once again, and have a great day. That was amazing. I had a lot of fun, and I'm sure all of you did as well. We learned so much about love, acceptance, and respect for others, no matter how different they are from us. And learning to illustrate with Nabi, that was amazing, wasn't it? As you can see here at the Gwinnett County Public Library, we have a vast collection of LGBTQ plus books for all ages. So come to your local branch and check them out today. Thank you for joining us. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.